Okay, right, welcome everybody. I am Alex and I am the head of volunteers here at Shout, and we're very excited to have so many people today on the call. I've got a few of my colleagues here as well, and we're going to talk you through the Shout volunteer experience. As I've just said, the session is being recorded, so please make sure that your camera and microphones are kept off for the purposes of this session, although there is the opportunity to come off mute later on into the session where there are if we've got any time for questions at the end. We'll try to get through those if we can. And we'd love to answer any questions. So if you want to, write down any thoughts that come up during the session tonight, please do put them in the comments box. We'll try to get through as many as we can on the night, but we'll also tell you how you can get in touch with us afterwards as well. The big help out, which I think is how you all came through to this, as you know, highlights the opportunities for everyone across the UK to get involved with volunteering. And we believe at Shout that we've got a really exciting way for people to volunteer with us. And essentially, we would not be able to run the service without our incredible volunteers who are sort of on the platform 24 hours a day and doing some absolutely incredible work. And this webinar is really just to talk through the experience of what it's like to be a Shout volunteer. We're really lucky tonight to have two great volunteers with us today who are going to give you some real kind of first-hand experience of exactly what it's like to be a volunteer. And I guess this will all lead to you helping us, hopefully, to support the 2,000 children, young people and adults who reach out to us for mental health support every day. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you a bit of information about what is Shout. I'm sure a great number of you will have heard about us, but may not know all the ins and outs. So we're going to give you a bit of a flavour of that. And then, as I said, we'll give you an overview of what it's like to be a Shout volunteer. And then we're going to look at some of the benefits, I guess, of volunteering. Why might you come and volunteer with us? Talking about what you'll gain, I guess, from the experience. And then we'll go into the kind of nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty of what you need to know in order to apply to be a volunteer, and talk you through the training programme and the support that you get as you go through the journey with us. So before we move on, I'm going to just introduce my colleagues who are on the call today. So firstly, if you'd like to say hello to Sarah Kendrick. Sarah, if you could just come off mute for a second and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Lovely to see so many of you here. I'm Sarah Kendrick. I'm the Clinical Director at Shout.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And as I said, we've got two volunteers here with us tonight as well. So Robert, perhaps you'd like to say hello.
Hi, good evening. I'm Robert Stringer. I've been a Shout volunteer since 2019 and love it. Absolutely love being a volunteer here.
Fantastic. And Prana.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Prerna and I've been a Shout volunteer for about 2 months, so much newer to this, but it's been great.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll be keeping an eye on the chat as we go. Most of this will be me kind of going through the slides and then inviting Robert and Prana to talk about their experiences. But I'm just going to hand over to Sarah now, who's going to talk to you a bit about what Shout is.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so just a bit of sort of information really about Shout. You probably know that we are a free, confidential text messaging service for anybody in the UK who is struggling to cope. Now, sometimes people say, why text? And the answer to that is because it's free and it's off bill. And of course, text, for those of you who haven't really sort of considered why it's important to people, it's also a silent way of communicating. It offers a means of people sort of reaching out for support, which is private and, as I said, kind of silent, can be done from anywhere. Our service is available around the clock. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And as I said, our service exists for anybody at all in the UK. And for any issue they want to talk about. I think sometimes, you know, we're known as a crisis service, which we certainly are, but we're also there for people who are perhaps, you know, struggling at some point in their life with something that they don't know even how to start articulating. We have a lot of children and young people who contact us. About 63% of our texters are under 24. So it's a young demographic, but we talk to everybody. So some of our texters are in their 80s or 90s. All they have to do is to text the word shout to 85258, and then texters are connected with one of our wonderful volunteers who you'll meet in a minute. Shout is the first service which is run by Mental Health Innovations. That's our sort of umbrella organisation. And we're there really to provide a data-driven service for people in need, as I said, anytime. Can we go to the next one, Alex, please? Thank you. So these are just some of our sort of key stats really about our service. And something we're really proud of is that we talk to 1,500 to 2,000 people a day. Again, you know, just to emphasize, that's something that's free of charge. And just to help illustrate the kind of people who we'll talk to, 43, so nearly half of those have never asked for help anywhere else. So very often we're talking to people who are just beginning to realize that they have an issue, or it's the first time that they've really kind of got up the courage to reach out for help. And you know, working with so many people each day, 86% of texters tell us that their conversation was helpful. So there's a little survey that people can do once they've finished their conversation with us. And again, to characterize the service, because we're available 24/7, we're also open when a lot of other services are closed. So we are most busy outside of the kind of normal daytime opening hours, if you like. So if there's anybody there who's really keen on working early evening, late evening, night times, I mean, we want you anytime, frankly, but you know, outside of those times, 74% of our texters will be in touch with us then. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Sarah. Right, so now we're going to talk about the actual opportunity of being a volunteer. What I should say right from the outset here is that we really need you. Okay, so the Shout service could not run without the dedication of our incredible volunteers, as I think I said at the start. We have around about 2,500 volunteers who are active at any point, and that's from UK, but also in New Zealand, because that coverage helps us to provide that 24-hour service. We like to believe that you'd be joining a family. We think it's a really supportive, lovely, and kind of, you know, feels like it's a community when you're joining. So we want to really reassure you from that at the start. And the role is really flexible. So although there are certain times and shifts that you might want to sign up to, actually you can do that at any time. The commitment we ask is for 2 to 4 hours per week, and again that is flexible. The reason we ask for that commitment, that weekly commitment, is partly for your benefit, in the sense of, you know, we'd hope that you'd go through the training and then want to kind of apply your skills every week. But you are supported by a fantastic team of clinical supervisors and our volunteer support team, who are on hand to debrief with you and to offer you kind of support and assistance during your shift. You know, we are very mindful of the fact that, you know, you'll be in your own homes taking these texts, but you're not alone, in the sense of, you know, that there's a team around you. As I think you'll probably gather from when Purana and Robert speak, it's a very warm and supportive community. So whether it's another volunteer, or whether it's a supervisor, or whoever it is, you'll be welcomed with open arms, certainly, you know, the moment you step onto the platform. And I think it's true to say that a lot of our volunteers feel that they develop a huge range of skills for work and personal life. A colleague of mine recently said that, you know, it's helped her be a better mother because she's been able to sort of improve her active listening skills, for example. And other volunteers have said how it's, you know, improved the way that they act within their work life and things like that. And clearly, you know, there's a real sense of pride and satisfaction and purpose. And just to kind of assure you really again that, you know, you'll be supported all the way through the journey, right from application. And I've seen in the chat that a couple of you have already put your application form in, so that's fantastic. Good luck with that. But any kind of issues, please do reach out to us. We want to help you as we go through and getting through your training and getting onto the shift. And also, I guess, you know, if you're on the call tonight thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know if I've got the right skills to do this, or I'm feeling a bit worried about it, something like that, please don't worry. You know, we are here with you. You know, we understand what that's like. You know, I think most of us haven't had that experience before. You don't have to have a background in mental health. You know, really, it's more about that kind of commitment to be here, and we'll guide you through that. So that's enough of my talking for now, and as you can probably hear, I've got a bit of a cold, so it's difficult to talk anyway. So what I'm really keen to do is to hear from Robert and Purana, really, who are the stars of the show tonight. And if I may, I might just ask you to come off mute, and just quite simply at this stage, if I could ask you what motivated you to become a Shout volunteer?
Do you want to go first, Robert?
Happy to, if you'd like me to. Yeah, absolutely. I have a very specific reason for volunteering. I heard about it through another group, and my son Hector took his life at the age of 18. And what I loved about understanding this service is its text. And I absolutely believe that had it been available back in 2011, that he may well have texted in rather than any phoning someone else. I think texting would have worked for him. So once I heard about it, I thought, I need to do this. I also wanted to train and do what I could in order to try and help someone else from taking the wrong decision. And I'm an ordinary bloke. I don't have any training, didn't have any training at all till I joined Shout. And they've taken me from zero to where I am. I've taken 1,200 conversations 4 years later, different types of things. And with their support, I feel confident in all of the different things that can come into you at any time. Right, sorry.
Yeah, no, that sounds really beautiful. For me, it was about wanting to make people feel heard. I think that's something that everyone desires in life, but unfortunately not everyone gets that, to feel heard and to feel seen. And I think I wanted to be a part of that. And And the reason I chose Shout is because of how wide-reaching it is. You know, it reaches people of all ages and ethnicities and socioeconomic backgrounds, and I wanted to have as much scope to reach as many people as possible to help out. Yeah, I think that's what made me choose Shout.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say to either of you, really? What's your, I guess, your favourite thing about volunteering for Shout?
It has to be the texters, because they are the reason we're here. And you, with what we learn with the guidance through the model, and what you then learn with helping texters in any situation is that it is entirely possible to take someone from being hot, we talk about a hot moment, to a calm moment. And I still, all this time, I can never believe how it works and how it's possible. But through that, as Alex mentioned a minute ago with someone else, I have learned to do that in life. And so text has always come first, and learning that. But what I've learned with Shout is how to be, hopefully, not, I don't always get it right, but also a better person in life. So it just is everything. But text has always come first. So and whatever's happened on a shift and however it goes, just knowing that we've been there, and we all do this, we support each other, and any time, you know, whether it's busy or not, we're taking a conversation, and that matters. One conversation. Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to mirror what you just said, Robert. I think the texters are very obviously and clearly my favorite thing about volunteering, and there's a reason I think that once I started, I just wanted to keep going, and I don't see that stopping anytime in the foreseeable future, because it truly is really a very profound experience to connect with someone on such a personal level. And some of you on this call might think that having the service as a text-based service might not feel nearly as personal as a service where you'd meet face to face, or maybe a call service. But in reality, I think I've experienced some, you know, really beautiful levels of connection with people, and I regardless of how the conversation goes, I always come out of it feeling so inspired in one way or the other. And yeah, I think that's something that just keeps me coming back, and that is my favorite part about volunteering.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that we hear quite. Sorry, Robert, were you going to come in there?
Yeah, it's strange what Piran was saying there, is that sometimes you say thank you for listening, and you say, actually, well, you've been texting, but that's what they say. They've felt heard, haven't they, Piran?
Yeah.
That's part of what we learn to do, is to give space for people where they are in that moment to actually express.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it works means that sometimes I just go, I can't believe that it with the support, and, you know, the support from our wonderful supervisors as well, and the rest of the team that are on there, and the other volunteers, and, you know, and sometimes you're doing stuff and you're thinking, okay, where's this going? And then we get somewhere, and it's just, yeah, it's mind-blowing as well, isn't it? As you said, it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna pick up on a point that you mentioned there, Robert, and Piran, you might want to kind of jump in here too. Was around the skills that you may have kind of developed through volunteering with Shout, and perhaps something about the way that it's kind of impacted on your life, I suppose, in some way. I'm going to do a couple of or a slide in a second, just to kind of give a few more details about that. And we've recently had our volunteer survey, which has shown a bit more about this. But before I do, it'd be really nice to hear that from you too.
Yeah. Again, I've been doing this for just about 2 months now, and I've already noticed quite the difference. naturally, I feel like I've always been someone who likes to jump towards thinking of solutions. So let's say a friend or a coworker or a family member came to me with something, I would automatically go into problem solving mode. And sometimes that is good, and that's what's necessary. But what Shout has really shown me how to do well is to give someone the space to just be heard and to just really be a good listener. And I think that's something that's very underrated, because you might feel like jumping in with the solution is the right way to go about things. And again, that might help sometimes, but I think Shout has made me such a good listener, and I have been able to learn to sit with just taking information in and just validating and normalizing, rather than automatically shifting into problem solving mode. I think that's the biggest difference I've noticed so far. But again, there's things like compassion and empathy and kindness that have really been, I guess, enhanced in my life after volunteering with Shout.
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on, because what we have to do is listen to the text as where they are. We try and help them find some calm and some next steps, but we can't fix. And that isn't our role, is not to fix. And that's really hard, because we all want to do that in life. And so that whole listening piece, two ears, one mouth, is what we learn. The beauty of it then is, over time, that we can then learn more. So there's so much you can take further if you want to do more training, understand a bit more the conversations that we have within the volunteer community. And we're then looking at things and we're saying, let's learn a bit more about this or that theory. Or we always follow the Shout model, but sometimes it's great to understand, what does person-centered mean? What does it mean to really sit there with the person? And that's it. And I think, but as you say, absolutely learning not to fix, to listen and help someone or guide them to find their next steps. It's beautiful when it works. And once you get that, you go, oh wow, I wish I'd known that when I was bringing my kids up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just to build on those points, I'm just going to show you or talk through this slide, just to sort of give a bit more context of what I guess other volunteers have said in the volunteer survey and sort of anecdotally as we go through. So I won't give you all the statistics, because there are quite a lot from our report, but you can see some of the highlights of this on our website. But it's really quite staggering looking at the results around skills development, and you've heard here about some of the things. I was looking at the chat as well, that someone was saying it's sometimes you perhaps don't go into these things thinking about what am I going to getting out of it. You're almost kind of possibly thinking of the mindset of, I'm going to help others, but actually both of those things is true, and that's the kind of beautiful thing about it in a way. And actually 100% of our respondees in our survey said that it had improved their active listening skills and empathy in some way by volunteering, and also a very significant percentage, I think 97%, said that it helps deal with their own problems, because I guess a lot of the experience of this with being a volunteer is it does allow you that time to self-reflect, and I guess it increases your self-awareness and all that kind of thing. So it is an amazing thing. In terms of social life, it's a funny thing, because you're volunteering, again, as I said, at home on your own. So you might think, well, how does that work? But actually, you go onto the platform and you'll see other volunteers who are on with you, and other staff members, and you just feel a sense of community straight away. So 90% of people said it helped them feel more connected to people. And really interesting, picking up on what Parana said there, is about how would you expect that to work when you're doing a texting service? But it is incredible how actually in there you can be, even if it's in the written form. We also said that some volunteers said, so 71% said that enabled them to meet new people and make friends. And we've been going for a few years now, but already, as has kind of been indicated a little bit, people are building lifelong, well, hopefully lifelong friendships. And I guess because of the nature of the work, you would hope that you would get that supportive community. Personal development, I think a lot of that has sort of come up already, but we've got 95% saying it improved their self-confidence, 96% saying it improved their own well-being. And we do give opportunities for volunteers to grow. I mean, as a volunteer, you might want to come onto the shift and do your shift, and then that's it, and that's cool, and that's amazing. But we do provide learning and development opportunities as we go through as well, and we want the experience of being a volunteer to be interesting and enriching, and all those things. And hope, as it's indicated today, it's a positive experience. So an incredible 96% of our volunteers say they're proud to be a volunteer for Shout, which is amazing. They're really kind of wearing it kind of when they're out and about, if you like. And 98% value the flexibility of the role. I think one of the really lovely things about this role, which we'll go through how that works in a second, but you can choose to do it in your own time. As Sarah said, we are looking for people to fill those sort of nighttime type shifts and things like that, because that's when a lot of our texters get in touch with us. But actually, we need people at all times of the day, so you can really fit that around your life, which you can't always with other opportunities. So just got a couple more questions then for Robert and Purana here. So just touching on the support that you get, and you'd probably agree that it really is vital that you get the support that you need in this role. Can you just perhaps talk about the support that you get and how that helps you kind of be on the platform?
Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to go first. So I think the support, I truly have felt supported at every stage of my Shout journey so far. So during my application stage and during the training, and now when I'm volunteering, I think one scenario that really exemplifies how positive the Shout community and the support is on my first shift, I logged on, and naturally I was quite nervous because it is a bit daunting to take your first shift, and completely unprompted, I got a flood of messages from all of these other volunteers who could see that it was my first shift, and it was just very sweet, positive, supportive messages, and again, completely unprompted. And I think that really showed me the type of community Shout has built around itself. And even when it comes to the supervisors, they're always there to help you, and it's really natural to feel a little unsure of yourself when you're maybe having a challenging conversation, but it's always helpful knowing that they're there to support you, because as soon as you log into the platform, you're allocated your own supervisor, and so that reassurance is always good to have, and I found so much benefit from the support that they've given.
Yeah, just to pick up on that before Robert comes in, I just, because I happened to notice a comment in the in the chat there, just in kind of real terms, can you sort of talk through what would happen if you picked up a text and actually that was really tough, and you needed some support? What just explain how that process works.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of ways you could deal with that. What I would usually do is just send my supervisor a little message after the conversation ends, just letting them know it's a bit tough, and most times they're, again, very reassuring, very supportive, and your supervisors have access to the conversations that you're having, so they will kind of let you know where things have gone right. And yeah, they really are just very supportive, and they'll talk to you for as long as you need, really, to help you calm your nerves. Or there's also chats with other volunteers. I guess the best way to explain it is like almost like a group chat, with all the people logged onto the platform at the same time. And so if anyone's had a difficult conversation, sometimes you'll get a message on there, and everyone just supports each other. So there really is a lovely community when you do log onto the platform. And regardless of what type of conversation you have, you will always feel well supported to handle it.
Perfect, thank you. Robert, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, because you've got someone, a support person who takes you through the training, and then when you come out of training, you have support people there, support staff all the time, wherever you are in your life with Shout. On the platform, the supervisor is there to look at anything clinical, anything that's really risk related to do with that conversation. But if it's something that came to you, which is, it could be triggering for any reason or really risky, they're the first people. But also on the chat that Parana was talking about, we've got specific things. You're like random stuff. What's the tea and biscuits you're eating today? You've got support stuff, which is how can I support the tech? And then you've got debrief, which is actually, I've had a difficult conversation. What do you think? And that's when we all go on and then and specifically help someone with a debrief there. If it's not, if we can help, there's also peer supporters who will be watching conversations as well. They're not clinically trained. We're just other volunteers. Then when you finish a conversation, you can actually put a response on that as to how the conversation went for you, whether it was good or meh, or I can't remember the third one. So you get that. And then afterwards, we also have sessions of potential debrief with supervisors and with coaches. So you can actually say, can I talk this through? So a bit like supervision in the real sense of the world, where you can actually chat to a supervisor. And I've sometimes taken real conversations back to another supervisor to say, can you just check it for me? But if it's hard for you, you've sat with something, we all are there to support you, to encourage you, to say, yeah, we've all had this. We've all had a conversation that's hurt us, that sits there. And then you need a debrief in the same way as we're debriefing with texters. So it works. But if it's serious, then there are people there who will pick you up from a supervision clinical point of view. But Parana and I would be able to support you through something because we've probably been there. And that's the beauty of it, in that we've all listened to conversations and had a difficult conversation. And when you first go on, it's a bit like driving. You can't imagine driving a car. What's that like? Then you have to pass your test and you drive without your instructor, and you get on the platform. It's like driving in London for the first time. And after a while, I go, it's wonderful. And I work, because I have a day job, so I do nights. It's great, have that super flexibility. Can be very busy on there sometimes, but it's just wonderful to be there with everybody doing it. So the flexibility is that we have is fantastic in being able to volunteer flexibly as well.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
We are supported all the way through.
Yeah, that's right. And I just picked up another question on the chat, which touches on all of this about, can you get help in the moment? And hopefully that answers the question that absolutely yes, you can. That is what the team is there for. You're not on your own. And there's a few questions that are coming in about applications as well, which we'll get to in a second. So just before I do that, I'd be really interested to know what it was like having completed your application form. You've been through the training, you're feeling all kind of excited, but probably quite nervous about clicking the button and actually starting. What was it like taking that first text and doing your first shift?
I think mine was a little while ago, so I think the training was slightly different because we were encouraged to go on. And in those days, there were potentially quieter times, so we were encouraged to go on and on a quieter time and take it. But now I see people coming on, but well supported at different times. But I think the training is slightly different. But I think for everybody, you know, you've got sweaty hands and your heart's beating and you're going, I've got to press that button. And I've been there saying to someone, just press the button, do it. And it's fine. It's because the training is there, and it's a bit like anything. Although it's a muscle memory thing and you're not sure, but the training clicks in. But then if you have a little wobble, then you just say to somebody, I'm having a, you know, this is how I feel, and we're there to support you. And most importantly, the supervisor will be with you when that's happening. But yeah, I can't tell you that it isn't the first time you press that take another text button, you go, oh, I'm off. And it's fine, it's good.
Yeah, I agree. I think everyone feels scared during their first conversation. But I think what one of the other volunteers who were also online when I did my first shift told me was, well, they told me a couple of things that I've kind of kept in mind as I've carried on. And the first thing they said was, you actually have more time than you think you do to respond. The texters aren't expecting you to respond in, 5 seconds. You can take a minute or two to think about what you want to say. And on the platform, there's lots of helpful resources and there's example messages on top of supervisors and other volunteers to ask for advice. And another thing that I have to remind myself of is you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to say the perfect thing, because it's really hard to get in your own head and be like, oh, I don't know what to say, because you're trying to think of the perfect thing to say. But in reality, any sort of positive response you give to them will be support, and I think that's better than them having no support whatsoever. So I think that's something that's good to remind yourself of when you're feeling really nervous during a conversation, especially during your first conversation. But also, like I mentioned again, the community is just so supportive and encouraging that it really creates the safe space where you feel like even if you do mess up, which you're probably not going to mess up, it'll still be fine, and yeah, you'll be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're just going to do a couple of bits here about how do you actually join us, I guess, and what happens. So thanks for all your questions and comments in the box there. I'm hoping this will kind of answer some of those, but if not, then we can have a chat either at the end or afterwards. We can tell you how to get in touch with us. I think so I picked up a couple. So one said, how many opportunities are there to volunteer? Actually, the good news there is that it's almost limitless in the sense of, we need as many volunteers as we can get. Each training cohort has up to 200 volunteers who can train at any one time. So that's a good number of people, and we have a very regular number of training sessions that go on. So we're not limited in that sense. The message really is that we need as many people as we can get. So please don't be shy in coming forward. And I noticed that one or two were kind of saying, what do you look for in an application form? So the application form is online. So the link there, give us a shout /volunteer. You click through and go through the application process. For those of you that have completed the application form, you'll be aware that it can feel like a lengthy process, in the sense of there's some information to go through and some reading. That's not there to put you off. It's there to sort of just give you a bit of a sense of what's involved, I guess. But the actual details that we need from you is relatively small. We don't ask for huge sort of reams of questions or things like that. To be honest, it's more about your ability to be there and be present with our texters. we're not necessarily looking for a particular qualification or anything like that. It's more about your ability to genuinely hold somebody, really, when they reach out to us. So, you know, have a think about the commitment and the kind of the nature of the role. But I would just encourage you to put the application in, honestly. And you probably would say that, but you know, we really do think that you'll get a lot out of it. And you know, as I said, you'll be joining a great team. The training in itself is great. So it's all online. You know, you can do it in your own time. Somebody's asked how long it takes. I think the guidance is around about 25 hours in total, but you can do that over several weeks. So, you know, typically that'll be done in, say, roughly a month or so, but that can be flexed as to your needs. But we'd kind of encourage you to be doing, you know, a few hours a week on that, just so that you're kind of really kind of getting into it. It has a combination of sort of questionnaire type things and videos, as well as some a conversation simulator, which is quite exciting. So you get to sort of have a role play with an AI computer, just kind of as if they were a texter kind of texting in, and you get to kind of practice your skills before you go in, which I think a lot of volunteers find quite reassuring, so that you get a chance to practice and get some really good feedback before you go onto the platform. So that's how that works. And then, as we've kind of indicated, there's a support team and supervisors behind you. You have the community when you go on, and we have that ongoing training and support. I think somebody else also asked about, you know, how long does it take to review an application form, and, you know, submitted references and all that kind of stuff. I would suggest, if you've got individual inquiries, to get in touch first of all. So please don't be shy in sort of asking those questions, and we can give you a kind of a more definitive thing for your individual needs. But it can take around a month or so to get through the application form, just to make sure that we've got everything that we need, and also to then think about which sessions that you can join and things like that. I think that was all I was going to say on that bit. So I would just like to ask again, Robert and Purana, do you have any tips about putting your application form in? And I guess on that question of, you know, what are we looking for, I suppose, it would be just interesting to know, you know, I guess what you think somebody should be thinking about when they're applying. Perhaps that's a better way of saying it.
I can't, because it's a long time ago since I did the application form, so I can't comment on that. If you're wanting to do something and that will be, you know, challenging but immensely fulfilling, something where you can learn, where you will meet a great group of people, and you can take it as far as you want with that, whether you meet up outside with the volunteers or whether you chat with volunteers differently. But in terms of what we do with the texters, which is the most important thing, it can be challenging. It is what we're doing. It's hard work. It's serious, but it is immensely fulfilling. And we have the flexibility to be able to, I can come home, have supper, and then work late into the evening when I want to, and do shifts whenever I want to. And if you want to volunteer and do something that is, I think, so meaningful and worthwhile, just do it. Just do it. Don't doubt yourself. Send in that application and do it.
I think in terms of the application process and tips, I think the application process isn't this big, scary application like you would think of, like a job interview or a job application. I think this seems really cliche, and it may not be the most helpful tip, but I think just try and be really genuine with your answers, because chances are if you want to volunteer, you already have that empathy and compassion and kindness in you. And so I think just reflecting that in your application process is enough, because again, I don't, like, Shout isn't the type of place where they're looking for specific qualifications or a certain education level. It's more so just about your character and your personality. So I think just making sure you let that reflect in your application is, I guess, the only tip I have, really.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So the only other question I had, and there's some other questions in the chat which we'll perhaps bring out and ask Sarah to. I know Sarah's been very busy in the background there, kind of replying to people. So I hope that people have been following the chat. Thanks, Sarah, for that. But we might want to bring a couple of those out as well. But before we do that, there's some feedback here from a volunteer, which is just sort of quite a nice one to look at. So there's that kind of, actually that's come out today very strongly, to be honest. So, listening to texts has helped me to feel more connected with others, and supporting them gives me a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. I just feel a warmth when I'm on the platform, not just towards the texters, but towards other volunteers and myself. And my only other question to Robert and Prana at this stage really was what would you say to anybody who was thinking about applying to be a Shout volunteer? I mean, I think you've really said it all, but anything to add to that?
You've come this far, just do it. Take that step.
I agree, yeah. If you've sat through this entire call, I think that shows that you probably are going to enjoy doing Shout, and I think it is such a fulfilling experience, and it is daunting, and it can be a little scary at times to take that step, but I think if you make it to that stage of taking your first shift, it kind of sucks you in automatically because you just kind of fall in love with it.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And Sarah, I'm just going to ask you if there's any things you want to pick out from the chat. Before I do that, just to say to everybody that this is how you get in touch with us. So if you have any questions that weren't answered tonight, or you just want to reach out in any way, please do so. We really want to hear from you. So that's helpdesk@giveusashout.org. I've noticed a couple of people have asked about the recording as well. So yes, that will be emailed out to you if you registered for the session today. So we will email that out to you as well. We will also make it available on the website in the next week or so, that you can go back and have a look, and please tell all your friends and family. We want to get as many volunteers kind of signing up as possible, so please do spread the word. So Sarah, anything from you that came out in the chat that we perhaps have time to answer now, if we haven't had a chance to answer them in the chat already?
Yeah, it's been lively in the chat, and also it keeps jumping, so I've been responding quite randomly, I'm afraid, to people. But really, really interesting questions. Somebody said, do you ever struggle with language? Text language can be so different sometimes. Robert, go on. Tell us about that.
Yeah, because the other day I had to then put into the group chat, what does this mean? And I think some younger people then came back and said it's that. And sometimes I will have to go on and Google something if there's an abbreviation or ask some. So occasionally, but generally no. And I think it's okay. We get there.
And I think to add to that, you can always ask your texter.
I have done. Yeah. I have done. I've said, sorry, can you clarify?
Yeah, because our aim in every conversation, as Prana said so well earlier on, is to connect with people, because we know that human connection, however that's achieved, and with us it's achieved through text, is a really powerful resilience factor for people. So just offering a connection, and sometimes saying, do you know what, I don't know what that means, can just be a brilliant connector. So we aim to be as natural as we can with people. And
it shows we're real as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, because some people ask, because we're a tech service, are you human? And I think we all are. So somebody in the chat asked, do you have to be in the UK to volunteer? Yes, you do. So you cannot volunteer from abroad. You can't use VPN. You can't. You have to be in the UK. I think that the question about who can
apart
apply.
From New Zealand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apart from New Zealand. Thank you, Alex. The interesting thing about, you know, who can apply, I think my kind of view on that is, if you really want to help people and you reckon you're a good listener or can learn to be a good listener, and you like working with other people, then give it a go. And also, if you have, it's important that you also have kind of supportive relationships around you as well, because shift can sometimes be difficult, but as you heard, there's loads of support. There's support from my team, the supervisors. There's the volunteer support team, Alex's team, who are available off the platform, the peer supporters, and all of the other volunteer colleagues too. I think that's most of the questions. Alex, tell me if I've missed anything obvious. People were asking about flexibility. Yes, absolutely, there's flexibility. You don't have to take the same shift each week. We would love you to volunteer sort of regularly for that 2 to 4 hours. Yes, you can do more than 4 hours a week, but we don't really advise it. You know, it's really important that you sort of balance your time on our platform with time, you know, doing the rest of your life, because the rest of your life is very important for informing how you volunteer as well. Someone asked if you ever get bogus texts. Yeah, that's right. So we call them pranks. But yes, we do. Of course we do. I mean, every service that has the kind of availability that we have will have people who maybe don't know how to use the service, or they look as though they're kind of pranking us somehow. But I always think somehow that's a form of communication, and we have certain ways of managing people who maybe aren't able to use our service at a particular time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've covered most things.
Yes, thank you. Raving reporter there. That's fantastic. Thank you. I think the only one I just picked up there was around whether they get a chance to speak to somebody. So yeah, so because there isn't an interview process, it's a good flag. Whoever said that, that's true. You sort of almost miss that opportunity to speak to somebody. Yes, you do actually. So you can first of all reach out via that email address on the screen. Just say you could do a chat. We'll reach out to you. But also, actually, as you put your DBS check in, you will have an opportunity to chat to somebody at that point as well, who will give you a bit of a chance to have a chat about how it will work. So yes, I guess the message is, please do not be afraid to reach out. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining. It was incredible to see so many of you and see the enthusiasm, and you know, it's been quite emotional reading all the text coming through, which just shows the level of passion and care, which is fantastic. I think you'll by the looks of it, you'll all make great volunteers. So please do put your application form in. And for those that you have already, good luck, and we'll look forward to kind of seeing on the platform shortly, I'm sure. Massive thank you to Sarah for joining us and for fielding all the questions in the chat there. If we didn't get a chance, I was aware that the chat was very busy, so if we didn't get a chance to answer them all, then apologies, but as I said, get in touch. And thank you very much to the stars of the show, Robert and Purana. You really gave a fantastic flavour of what it was like, and you know, I too found it very inspiring, I think, to listen to you both. So thank you. I will stop the recording now, and I will wish you all a good evening. Thanks very much.